Hey folks, BENTHELOONEY here. So, here's the dealio. Tried to do some improv videos and yeah, they just didn't go very well. Basically, I was picking topics and then writing just little spec scripts of points I wanted to talk about, but I just found myself constantly watching the videos again and not exactly, well, what I did was I would watch the videos again and I'd be like, oh man, I forgot to make this point, forgot to make this point, forgot to make this point, and it was just driving me crazy as a creator, because that's the thing you always want to do. You always just want to make sure everything's perfect before you completely do it. And so another problem I was having was one day I'd be like ready to make the video because I had so much to talk about, but I couldn't find the time to make it. So then I tried to make it like again on a later day, and I was like literally dead. I could not think of anything to say, and it constantly ticked me off because I'm like, no, it's like you just, some days you have your gold mine material, and then other days you're just completely blank, and that drove me crazy. And you know, that's one reason I stepped away, because originally when I started doing videos, I didn't use a script. I just turned the microphone on and went wild. But you know, I've always been a quiet person over the years. I rarely, if ever, I did some things where I talked or anything like that on a long periods of time like that. So and that's why I was pretty awkward in my early days, because I didn't know how to do speeches like that. So I just started doing scripts and writing everything I wanted to talk about, and then did it that way. But then the problem I soon got was that I found myself basically reading the script. I gave emotions and everything, but you could just tell like I was pretty dead when it came to doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, my videos, they just I was never, it's just easier to say I was rarely, if ever, satisfied with anything. So my best friend, he gave me the idea that he told me that he found himself enjoying videos where people just sit down and talk about stuff, no, unscripted, rather than scripted reviews with lots of research in, because it always felt natural to him. And then I just had a euphoric moment, realization, epiphany, whatever you want to call it, and I was like, yeah, you're right, I never noticed that either. So I found myself wanting to do videos like that. So yeah, I tried that for a bit, and you know, I think it worked for the most part, but like I said, the problem was, like, I would do the video and like literally every time, it never failed. I would try to do the video and I was like, I completely forgot all of I wanted to say, even with a spec script or a skeleton script. And yeah, it just didn't work out like that. So I figured, and I had the same problem as usual. I want to do videos, but I want to make artwork, and you know, where you find that happy medium. So here's what I'm proposing to you folks. I'm thinking about doing this is the pilot episode of Drawing with Ben, where basically I just draw whatever safe for work thing I can get myself to draw, because it's YouTube, and I go from there. I'll talk about whatever topics are hot. I don't have to wait to do research or anything like that. I can pretty much give my thoughts fairly recently compared to the whatever happened. So yeah, and yeah, that was another problem I realized I had, was that I would completely like miss the boat on the relevancy of the topic, because you know how YouTube works nowadays. It's like you gotta get your video out fast, otherwise it's old news. And you know, that's nuts, the kind of guy I was. I always wanted to make sure I had everything in place before I made a video. So yeah, I just found myself being left behind in the dust and all that stuff. But But yeah, so I'm hopefully to change that. Get out of here, Avast. I'm making a video. So I hope to change that with this new thing, basically. So yeah, like a Bob Ross episode. Just draw random stuff and talk about what I need to talk about, and then call it a day. And you know, I want to make this more engaging with you folks. I mean, it's like you guys mean a lot to me, so if there's ever anything you want me to talk about or ask me questions or anything like that, just leave something in the comments below, and I'll try to get as much to your videos as or much to your comments as I can, and include them in the video if I have some time to talk about extra stuff other than what I want to talk about. So yeah, that's just my little proposal, and so other than that, let's get started. So I think the big issue, or the big thing that people are talking about now is the death of Steven Hillenburg. Let me get a SpongeBob drawing going. So yeah, Steven Hillenburg passed away this week, and yeah, I mean, nobody would know based on my ranting days, because I pretty much, I like a lot of cartoons. SpongeBob was just one video, or one cartoon that I didn't seem to really care all that much about, and I made multiple rant videos on it and talked about how much I hated it, but truth be told, it really was a big part of my childhood that not everybody would ever imagine just knowing my videos. It really was, I think it was like one of the first big new cartoons that I got into. Well, actually, I was a pretty big Cartoon Network and Disney kid growing up, and I really didn't care that much for Nickelodeon, but SpongeBob was the one cartoon that caused me to turn my head and start to notice Nickelodeon. So yeah, that's how that all got started. And yeah, as you know, Steven Hillenburg, he was the creator of SpongeBob, and we all knew that it was announced that he had ALS. I think it was like, was it last year or a couple of years ago, something like that. People can correct me in the comments, but that was quite a shock. I mean, I'm no medical expert, but is it possible to survive ALS, or is it one of those things that just slowly kills you? If so, that's a friggin' depressing way to go out, knowing that you're dying and you can't do anything about it. But so yeah, Steven Hillenburg, SpongeBob was really a big part of my childhood. It's like, I'm old enough to remember when it first came out. They used to air new episodes on Saturday mornings, and I would run over, and then after every new episode on Saturday morning, I'd run over to my next door neighbor's house, and he was basically one of the only kids I could play with growing up, because in my neighborhood we didn't have very many kids. Small neighborhood, country neighborhood, you know the thing. So yeah, I mean, it's like SpongeBob was one of those cartoons like where I never missed a new episode. It's like whenever Nickelodeon would advertise it, I'd be completely on that. And I still find myself, like, I try to act like I don't care about it anymore, but I still find myself quoting those famous first 3 season episodes. I think my favorite will always be the one I had an accident, that's what it's called. That's the one that to this day still constantly makes me laugh, because that ending, it's like I'd never seen a wacky ending like that in a cartoon before. I don't even think Freakazoid had an ending that, what the hell. And I also remember that when the SpongeBob movie came out in 2004, I begged my dad to take me to go see it. That was like one of the first movies I know of where I was so hyped to see it, I like begged my dad to take me. And you know, he's one of the parents where it's like he didn't want to go and everything like that, and he likes SpongeBob and everything, he just didn't feel like going. But we went to go see it anyway. So yeah, after he died, we found in a Discord server I'm in, we found ourselves getting all nostalgic and everything like that when it came to SpongeBob. We were posting songs from the movie soundtrack in the server, and we were getting all nostalgic. I remember I had a moment where I was like, oh my god, I had that album. And it's true, I had that album growing up because I was so obsessed with that movie and SpongeBob. And I'm surprised. I think I'm going to talk about this in a future video, but it's like, there are a lot of soundtrack albums from movies based off of cartoons that are really good. Like, better than they need to be. And so, yeah, I can safely say, like, Steven Hillenburg passing away was really a big shock. I mean, it's Steven Hillenburg, and he wasn't even that old. He was like 57. Yeah, it's like, holy crap. I mean, say what you want about SpongeBob now. It's like, if you say it wasn't a big part of your childhood, if you were a millennial, you're lying to yourself. You're flat out lying to yourself. Just admit it. So, and if it sounds like I'm giggling a lot during this, it's like I'm only giggling because I'd be crying if I wasn't. I mean, think about it. It's like Steven Hillenburg created a cartoon character that's just as recognizable as Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse. I mean, how many creators do you know have characters that may have made that big of an impact? Like, I mean, I know The Simpsons, that's another one, but it's like, it's insane creating a character in this modern age that has such a mass appeal, is known worldwide. It's unbelievable. Like, that is more rare than people think. It's like, because no matter how popular a cartoon is, like, they're just some it's not always going to reach like all reaches of the earth and stuff like that. So, yeah, it really is a shocking and sad week in terms of animation. Then we lose like Stan Lee like a couple weeks before Steven Hillenburg. Yeah, it's like, isn't it weird that when each year comes by, you always think after somebody you know and love dies, you're like, oh well, next year there's no way. What else could happen? There's no friggin' way it can get worse, and it always gets worse. Like, somebody dies that you completely never would have expected to die, and you're like, oh no, oh god. It's like this like path of, or this era of 2016 through 2018. It's like so many friggin' people who I look up to have passed away. It's like insane. It's like, I think it all started when David Bowie died in January of 2016. It was like, oh my, because I'm such a big David Bowie fan. It's like, who would have saw that coming? So, yeah, it's like, I might not act like I might not have given it away too obviously, but SpongeBob really was one of those cartoons I was obsessed with as a kid. And I guess I thought I was losing interest in it because the new episodes kind of ruined it for me, but deep down inside I knew I always had a special place in my heart for those first 3 seasons and the first movie. It's like, it makes me regret I gave my first 3 season DVDs to, I think it was either a next door neighbor or one of my little cousins, and I kind of want them back now. It's like, I could always rebuy them if I wanted to. They're probably cheap as hell. So that's the big animation news for the week and stuff like that. Yeah, it's really sad. I honestly don't, all of Twitter, and I'm sure a lot of people were reacting to it. It's like, it just goes to show how big SpongeBob was to a lot of people. Even though nowadays it's like people like that wanted to die and all that stuff, but you can't deny it was definitely a huge part of all of our growing up. It was a huge part of all of our lives. And it just makes you wonder, it's like, where's this show going to go from here? Is like Nickelodeon finally going to have some respect and cancel it, or they just going to, or did Steven Hillenburg know the time was coming and the show must go on, as they say? Guess we'll find out, but either way, the news is pretty sad. Because when it comes to art and like animators and stuff like that, I think people like to think that it's always the creation that represents the creator. Like, creators themselves don't have their own faces because they're not as mainstream as the characters they create. But must remember that all these creators of ours, they're humans just like us, and they have an expiration date, and you just never know when it's their time to go. And sadly, it was Steven Hillenburg's time to go. And yeah. Well, alright folks, I guess that's episode 1 in the books. So yeah, if there's ever anything you guys want me to talk about, or any questions that I'll talk about in future videos, let me know in those comments below. Let me know how you like this. Do you like this format? Do you have any suggestions on how, I don't know how my audio is going to sound because it's my first time doing this, but do you have any tips on how I can probably cancel out some background noise like that pretty much? So yeah, let's have fun. I'm really looking forward to doing more of these, and as always, stay loony, my toonies.
Strength. Ain't nobody man enough to feel the pain. And you could be next. You better give respect. 'Cause ain't